I'm Aaron Olsen, and I'm the founder of 3D Anatomy Studios. This is a recorded version of a talk that I gave at the New England Regional SICB Meeting at Tufts University on October 21st, 2023. Have you taken a vertebrate or human anatomy course? If you have, I want you to think back to when you took that class and choose one verb that best describes what you spent most of your time doing. I'm guessing that for most of you, that verb is similar to one of the following: memorizing terms, identifying structures, dissecting a specimen, or cleaning up a dissection. Pedagogical research has shown that students learn better and are more motivated when they're engaged in higher order active learning. But what does that look like for anatomy? You can tell a lot by the verbs describing what students are doing in the classroom. For example, rather than just memorizing the cranial nerves, students can build the cranial nerves onto a brain. Rather than just memorizing the bones of the skull, students can solve how the bones fit together like a 3D puzzle. And rather than just memorizing muscle actions, students can infer muscle actions by manipulating a kinetic model to simulate motion and observing which muscles shorten. We know that active learning is more effective, but it can be difficult to implement for a class like anatomy. When I finished my postdoc at Brown University, I and a fellow group of scientists started 3D Anatomy Studios to help professors implement this type of learning in their classes. And we decided to start by creating a kinetic physical model of a shark skull that students could use for active learning. But we ran into several challenges. Like most fishes, sharks have a lot of moving parts in their skull. They have over 30 different ligaments holding all those moving parts together. And initially, we didn't have access to a CT scanner because of COVID restrictions. So we started with back porch anatomy, dissecting a shark specimen on my back porch. To create surface scans, we used photogrammetry, where you take a bunch of photos, at least 40, and software stitches those together into a 3D model. With just a single digital camera, we created high-resolution scans of the external anatomy of the shark and scans at multiple stages of dissection to get the relative positions of the cartilages and other structures. We also scanned individual cartilages, such as this palatal quadrate. To remove the cartilages, we had to cut all the ligaments holding them together, but we needed to record where those ligaments were to recreate an accurate model. So each time we cut a ligament, we used a marker to label the two cut ends with the same color, such as this quadratomandibular ligament that originally ran between the palatal quadrate and Meckel's cartilage. Once CT scanning became available again, we used the micro CT scanner at Brown University to scan a hemisected chondrocranium. We didn't stain the chondrocranium prior to scanning, and most cartilage in sharks is not dense enough to distinguish from soft tissue. The shark cartilage has a very thin, high-density surface, the tessellated prismatic cartilage, and because the scan was so high resolution, we could use this very thin layer to segment the internal structure of the chondrocranium. Once we had all our surface meshes, we used the open-source 3D modeling software Blender to clean them up and create 3D printable models. But what would hold the cartilages together? In an early prototype, we tried using ribbon for the ligaments, but that was too difficult to mass produce and too difficult for students to assemble and disassemble. So we replaced most of the ligaments with 19 pairs of magnets embedded within the cartilages. After nearly 2 years of development, we officially launched our Dogfish Shark Skull Active Learning Kit last month, and here is the result. A chondrocranium model in 2 halves with a brain so that students can connect all the cranial nerves and trace their paths out of the chondrocranium to their innervation targets. Cartilages with embedded magnets that allow students to build the skull like a 3D puzzle, solving how the skeletal elements articulate with one another. Because these magnets replicate the ligaments in the skull, students can also manipulate the jaws to simulate all the jaw motions. And by attaching rubber bands to the elements, students can observe which muscles shorten during which motions, and from that infer their actions. I hope this has given you ideas for techniques that you can use in your own research. If you're interested in working with us to develop open source physical models, software, or a website for your research or for outreach on a grant, please reach out. We would love to talk with you. We'll also have a booth at the SICB meeting in Seattle in January 2024, and we would love for you to stop by.